Thanks, everybody, and thanks for your patience as we got the door open just a couple of minutes late there, but all ready to rock and roll here. My name's Andrea Davis, Mayor Davis, and I'll call the meeting for Missoula City Council to order at 6:02 p.m. for September 8th, 2025. And before we get started with our agenda, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you very much. And Ms. Trimble will go ahead and take a roll call when you're ready.
All right, good evening. Beginning with Anderson.
Present.
Becerra.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Carlino.
Present.
Farmer. Absent. Jones.
Present.
Jordan.
Present.
Nelson.
Present.
Nugent.
Present.
Cheryl.
Present.
And Vasika.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Trimble. Folks, you may have noticed that there were 11 names called on the roll call this evening, and so I'd like to turn it over to President Cheryl now to address the notice of vacancy, please.
Yeah, thank you. I was advised as the president of City Council that Jennifer Savage had vacated her seat for Ward 1. I think, as many of you know, she is has moved now officially to Ward 3, and she's running in that race. Tomorrow, I will be meeting council leadership, which is Mirta and myself. Will be meeting with the clerk's office to decide, to kind of figure out where we go from here and how we go forward. It's kind of a unique situation because you know, there will be an election for that seat in Ward 1 soon. One, right? It's one. Yeah. Okay. But there's more information to come on that, and I'm hoping to have some information on Wednesday, if not on Monday night. So more to come.
Great, thank you, President Cheryl. Appreciate that. Okay. Next, we'll move on to approval of minutes, and you do have some minutes in your packet this evening from August 25th, 2025. Do we have any questions from council or any changes proposed for the minutes? I'm not seeing any. All right, thank you. Then those will remain as submitted. Thank you very much. We'll next move to the committee schedule for this coming Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Ms. Trimble, do we have any changes to the posted committee schedule for this Wednesday? Any details to provide?
No changes. It should be a fairly normal day starting at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you. It is a full committee schedule for you all, so 9 to 4:30 this week. And all that information is located on the City of Missoula Council agenda website if you're interested in seeing what is posted on committee agendas for this coming Wednesday. All right. So next we'll move to special presentations and proclamations, of which we have several this evening. And we don't have any neighborhood council updates, but we do have 3 proclamations. So I'll go ahead and start to read the first one that's listed on the agenda, which is National Recovery Month. And the city clerk, Claire Trimble, will go ahead and share that on screen so everybody has a chance to take a look at that as well as I read along. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Whereas substance use disorder is a chronic health issue, not unlike other chronic health issues, such as diabetes and cancer, and whereas approximately 13,000 Missoula residents have struggled or are struggling with substance use, and nearly 10,000 of those have sought or are engaged in recovery support, And whereas recovery from substance use and/or mental health is not only possible, it is an essential part of overall health and wellness. And whereas stigma and stereotypes surrounding substance use disorder often deter people from seeking treatment, and whereas public education, awareness, and open discussion can promote recovery from substance use disorders and more effective treatments of substance use disorders. Now, therefore, I, Andrea Davis, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the month of September 2025 as National Recovery Month. And I know we have a couple of community members here wishing to speak to this proclamation this evening. And so, Shannon Sproul, can I invite you on up? And we have maybe another couple members or just yourself. Come on up.
Thank you. My name is Shannon Sproul, and I am the Executive Director of Recovery Friendly Montana, which engages businesses and organizations in the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative. Our mission is to provide connections, education, resources about recovery and addiction to Montana's workforce, and to help them develop and maintain stigma-free and supportive workplaces. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mayor Davis, and the City Council for your recognition and proclamation of National Recovery Month. It is encouraging to see our leadership acknowledge that recovery is possible and know that our local and state support systems are essential. This proclamation honors not just those in recovery, but also the professionals, like my colleague Sherry, families and advocates who walk alongside them. In addition, by recognizing National Recovery Month at this level, we help reduce stigma and elevate recovery as a priority in our community. While I recognize that proclamations are symbolic, I encourage our city government to let this proclamation serve as a reminder to invest in real resources for prevention, treatment, and recovery services. Thank you for your support. Do you want to say thank you?
Thank you, Shannon. Hi.
My name is Sherry Rigg. I'm the Executive Director for Stepping Stones Behavioral Health Services and one of several providers in the community that treat substance use disorder and mental illness. And so I'm happy to be here and want to thank you so much for recognizing the importance of treating substance use disorders and the people who are struggling with substance use. We do our best to help transform them into good citizens of our community, and many of you probably have neighbors who are in recovery. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you both. I really appreciate all the work that you do for our community and beyond. And thank you so much for helping us elevate the importance of substance use awareness and recovery opportunities here, and the need for greater advocacy, which I know that you have friends in that here in the city of Missoula and with these colleagues. Anybody wish to speak to this evening? Any of our other city council members? Okay, thank you. Yes, come on up. I mean, this isn't necessarily a public, are you here to speak on this proclamation specifically? Okay, but not necessarily on substance use recovery? Okay, all right, then we'll hold off on your public comment for now. It's not necessarily a public comment opportunity right now. It's generally for folks speaking to the proclamation. Mr. Spitzmacher.
Vacay, Montana. When is Missoula going to have their rally and their presentation of mental health and substance abuse like Salt Lake City would? And it was a very influential program. One weekend they had a rally and a presentation of all the representatives on substance abuse and mental health.
Thank you, Mr. Spitzmacher. All right. I'll go ahead and read our next proclamation. It is in regards to Suicide Prevention Week. Okay. This is a joint proclamation with the Missoula County and the city of Missoula. Whereas Montana has the second highest suicide rate in the nation and has ranked among the top 5 states with the highest rates of suicide for the past 4 decades. And whereas suicide is a community-wide problem and suicide prevention requires a community effort. And whereas since 2018, Missoula County has had an average of 28 deaths due to suicide per year. And whereas suicide by firearm accounts for 55% of all suicides in the United States, 67% of all suicides in Montana, and 71% of all suicides in Missoula County. And safe storage of firearms is known to reduce the risk of death by suicide. And whereas it is important to support the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, known as 988, call center here in Missoula, along with our mobile response units, who can effectively and empathetically intervene in crisis situations. And whereas our community will support suicide prevention efforts to the maximum extent possible, including promoting free gun locks and other safety materials available from Missoula Public Health and initiatives like Project Tomorrow Montana, which uses educational programs and evidence-based policy to work to reduce Missoula County suicide deaths and attempts. Now, therefore, in coordination with National Suicide Prevention Week, we, the Missoula Board of County Commissioners, and Andrea Davis, Mayor of the City of Missoula, Montana, do hereby recognize the week of September 7th through 13th, 2025 as Suicide Prevention Week. And we have Jacqueline Briggs here to speak to this from Missoula Public Health. Come on up.
Council members. Actually, I am Jackie Briggs from United Way. Susan would not be happy with you.
Sorry about that. Wrong note.
That's okay. Well, my partner is from Missoula Public Health. We work together. I am the coordinator of Project Tomorrow Montana with United Way, but in full partnership with Missoula Public Health. Our Suicide Prevention Week, as you've mentioned, is September 6th through 13th. Montana continues to rank among the states with the highest suicide rates in the nation. We're always in the top 3, if not number 1. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, Montana's age-adjusted suicide rate is nearly double the national average. The national average is 14.8 and ours is 28.7 in the state, meaning 28.7 deaths per year per 100,000 people. Project Tomorrow Montana, in partnership, as I said, with Missoula Public Health, leads a network of community organizations, including our friend Shannon, dedicated to raising awareness, providing support, and offering education in both prevention and postvention. And postvention is working with the families and loved ones who have lost someone to suicide. While it's important to acknowledge the seriousness of this issue, it is equally important to lift up hope. Suicide rates in Missoula County have decreased steadily over the last 3 years. In 2024, the county's suicide rate was 17.5 per 100,000. That's the lowest since 2019 and a significant reduction from the previous year of 2023, in which it was 27.8. In the past year alone, we have trained hundreds of people in our community to recognize and respond to signs of suicidal thoughts and behaviors in their family members, friends, and colleagues. Providing this education remains our top priority. Firearms remain the most common and lethal means of suicide in both our city and our state, accounting for approximately 70% of the suicides in Missoula County. And I would add that attempts of suicide with a firearm are almost always fatal, whereas other means not necessarily so. When lethal means are easily accessible during that moments of acute distress, the risk of a fatal outcome is high. By creating time and space between an individual and a lethal means, we increase the chance for survival and connection to health. This is why gun locks save lives. Over the past year, we have distributed nearly 900 free gun locks throughout Missoula. sparking vital conversations with each dispensing of a gun lock. And for me, that's the most exciting thing, that education that occurs during that time. We have also seen increasing demands for other lethal means safety materials such as prescription lockboxes. We also know that the growing number of calls to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline launched locally in 2022 reflects our community's increasing willingness to reach out for help. Montana is home to one of the strongest 988 programs in the nation, resolving 80% of calls while the caller is still on the line. Project Tomorrow is proud to stand alongside devoted partners such as 988, Tamarack Great Resource Center, the Mobile Support Team, All Nations Health, and the Local Advisory Council, to name just a few. Together, we are working to prevent suicide, support healing, and build a stronger, more connected community. Thank you once again for proclaiming this week as Suicide Prevention Week and for helping us create a Missoula where understanding, care, help, and hope are always within reach.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Very much appreciate your work in our community. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Appreciate that. And we now have our last, but certainly not our least, proclamation this evening. The third proclamation is in regards to Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. And we'll get that up on the screen here. All righty. Okay. Whereas Missoula, Montana is a welcoming and inclusive community, and whereas Hispanic Heritage Month started in 1968 under President Johnson as a week-long celebration and was expanded to a month-long celebration in 1988 by President Reagan. It is celebrated annually from September 15th to October 15th. And whereas the city of Missoula recognizes and celebrates the many contributions of our Hispanic and Latino community members who have enriched our city through educational, artistic, culinary, and many other pursuits. Missoula was recently ranked the 8th best city in the United States for Hispanic entrepreneurs. And whereas through community collaboration, educational programming, and a celebration of artistic expression, the upcoming Viva Montana Latin Heritage Festival aims to inspire connection, pride, and joy among all who attend. Now, therefore, I, Andrea Davis, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the 15th day of September through the 15th day of October 2025 as Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. And I do believe that we have someone here from Viva Montana Latin Heritage that wishes to come up and say a few words. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Recognizing Missoula Latino and Hispanic community and Viva Montana, we believe culture is about connection, about sharing music, food, dance, and stories that brings us together, even though we live far from many of these places. These traditions began here in Missoula, where building a home where heritage and community can thrive side by side. We're so grateful for these recognitions, and we invite everyone to celebrate with us at the Viva Montana Latin Heritage Festival on September 13 at Caras Park. And muchas gracias.
De nada, muchas gracias. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And again, the hours on the Viva Montana
It's
event?
10 a.m. till 10 p.m. So it's an all-day event, so no excuses.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you very much for being here this evening. And we look forward to seeing you down at Caras Park and down here again. Thank you. All right. That does. Okay. Just making sure that there's nobody with these organizations that are wanting to speak to the proclamations. Again, that are with the organizations. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. All right. So that does wrap up our special presentations and proclamations this evening. We have a relatively light city council meeting. We have no public hearings this evening, and we have no new business. So we'll go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. And the consent agenda does have 8 items on it. I do have one request for separation, and we'll address that after we hear all of them. So Ms. Trimble, if you'll go ahead and read the items on the consent agenda, and I'll note for the audience that these items on the consent agenda were approved in city council committees to be placed on the consent agenda to save time at council meetings by voting on them as a package. The city clerk will read the list aloud, so citizens watching on MCAT will know what is on the consent agenda, and then we'll invite community comment on these items before the city council votes.
Give me 1 second, I'm trying to pull it up. Here we go.
No problem.
All right, on this evening's consent agenda, we have a motion to ratify accounts payable for checks dated September 2nd, 2025 in the amount of $1,894,857.19. We have a second motion to approve accounts payable for checks dated September 9th, 2025 in the amount of $1,791,089.32. Moving on, we have a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Williams Civil Construction, LLC, in the amount of $119,250.60 to provide services to construct the Duncan Trailhead parking area. We have a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract for trip hazard mitigation with Precision Concrete Cutting in the amount of $248.13. We have a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with SpryPoint for the utility billing software at a cost not to exceed $849,000. Now, there is a note that when this was voted on in committee, it was passed, but quorum was not met. We have a motion to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to support the intent of and strategies contained in the 2025 Missoula Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan. We have a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the bid award to the Third Element, Inc. for the emergency generator at the Resource Recovery Facility at a cost not to exceed $99,380. And our last motion of the evening is to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to adopt the Missoula Connect 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan Update.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Trimble. I will offer a public comment now for items on the consent agenda. So we'll have general public comment here in a little bit, but any public comment specifically to the consent agenda, come on up now. Is it related to the consent agenda? Okay, that sounds great. There will be a general public comment after this. It's at the end of the agenda there. And if you're wishing to look at an agenda, there's one on the table for you out in the front there. You bet, absolutely. Any public comment on the agenda?
Hello, Carrie Schreiber, commenting on 8.8. I guess I would like to know more about the transportation plan. When it was presented before, there was going to be a bus transfer center located in the Southgate Crossing property, and there were 2 different depictions of where that was going to be. I've also heard that this is more conceptual at this point, but that was the piece that I was curious about. When I looked online to see the attachments with this, it was still located in the first place we saw it. I've just seen it located in different places. I'm wondering how firm the plan for the bus transfer center is, because the adjacent neighbors are, as you remember from our meeting, we're very engaged in wanting to know how that would be affecting our properties.
Thank you for your comment tonight, Carrie. Any other comments on city council consent agenda? Okay, not seeing any in the audience. How about public comment online? Public comment online regarding the consent agenda. Okay, I am not seeing any, and so next we will offer council members the opportunity to separate the question, and I know that Councilor Basika has her hand raised. Councilor Basika.
Thank you. I just like to separate 8.6, and I have a crying baby in the background, so I made comments about my decision to vote against this at the council, the previous Wednesday, not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before that. If anybody is curious about my reasoning why, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Counselor. Appreciate that. So item 8.6 will be separated from the consent agenda with a separate vote. Any other items, requests to separate any other items from the consent agenda? Okay, not seeing any then, Ms. Trimble will go ahead and take a voice vote on items 8.1 through 8.5, and then again 8.7 and 8.8.
All right, voting on this evening's consent agenda, all the items except for 8.6. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? Right, those ones pass unanimously. And then we'll move on to a roll call vote of item 8.6. Does anyone want to speak to it? I know Councilor Vasika didn't, but does anyone else want to speak to it?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right, beginning our roll call vote on item 8.6, the resolution to adopt the Missoula EV infrastructure plan, beginning with Anderson.
Yeah.
Becerra.
Yes.
Campbell.
No.
Carlino.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
And Vasika.
No.
That item had 8 in favor, 2 opposed, and it does pass.
Okay, thank you very much. That wraps up our consent agenda, and there is no business under regular business, and that's agenda item number 9 this evening. So we'll move on now to public comment on non-agenda items. And we'll go ahead, the microphone's on. We allow 3 minutes per public comment. If you'll say your name for the record, and then I'll help you keep track with the little lighty gizmo up here. So whoever's ready for public comment, come on up.
Hi, so I'm Angel. I've been trying to get off the street for about 7 years. The resources have no place like motel vouchers or anything like that for me. So I've been trying to get a hold of the missionaries, the churches. They don't have no funding, so the finances are bad. The hospital has not been treating people well. They should have a place for the homeless when they're in need and bad weather issues. So I just want to let you guys know it's been really bad. So the resources people is one I wanted to contact or Congress. I talked to the health department because I reported the Salvation Army, and I still need to report mobile support team, human resources, the Poverello, the police department, the Senate. No, I don't need to report them. I haven't talked to them as much yet, but all the resources I need to report because I took a shower at the Salvation Army and they had a little tiny cup of soap and it didn't cover enough for my conditioner for my hair or anything. So it's just really bad out here. So if there's anything that you guys can create or make for another building for 24-hour service for indoor so you can lay down or whatever because it's really hot weather or cold weather. I'm in my flip-flops. It's going to be winter soon. I have no place to get clothes, so other people are dying out there too as well. So if you can get any resources created or good business going for that, like financially and stuff, that's all I ask.
then that would be a plus, because there's no other towns or cities that has that really either. So if you want to find somebody that could travel and make money to help the homeless and the poor, you know, survive from deadly weather and stuff like that, that'd be a great job too. I'd do the job, but I don't know where to find a job like that. So hopefully I can get an offer somehow. But that's all I wanted to tell you, and hopefully something happens.
Thank you very much for coming down tonight, Angel. Really appreciate you providing your comments. Thank you. Other public comment on items not on the agenda?
Well, Big K, Montana. Well, things are moving along. OPD finally connected me up with an appropriate individual that understood me and actually heard me. And I understand myself really well for the past several years in Missoula, let alone the 10 years of Salt Lake City. I won't share what she said in regards to the context of March 16th. It's like this: the city, OPD, and the court system does not want to bring March 16th into the dynamics of what I've been putting up with the last 2 years, and supported and advocated by the staff that this facility helps pay for at the Johnson Center, or aided and abetted. As I said last time, it's a changing factor what was recorded on the federal recording system on the bus. That will live in infamy, and it's indelible as March 16th and last May. And how the lawyers may have treated it, because one of them said after this goes through, as slow as it's moving because of OPD, malicious intent. For how I'm staying safely where I'm at, that I use the facility, that the stalkers had complained about how well I use the facility. It's an interesting how I got individuals that like to create problems indirectly to an extent. There's a game changer in town. One individual advocates the individual that was getting all these emails for the last several years that oversees what I call the North Korean Russian embassy, which would be 1110 West Broadway. And she's the director. And anybody that advocates her appreciates what the psychiatrist told me, and I only had to tell her in a half an hour, and she had it figured out.
Thank you, Mr. Spitzmacher. Other public comment? Come on up.
My name is Don Moore. I'd first like to reiterate my desire to have the MRA abandoned, all members fired, and no more authorizations given to the MRA. I doubt that will be done.
If you could speak into the microphone a little bit, we could hear you a little bit better, Mr. Moore. Thank you.
Here's a brochure from last year. One of them says, for a more affordable Missoula. Everybody want a more affordable, everybody. Even I want one. So I want y'all to get together and make this a more affordable place. There's an apartment project down on Broadway. Started out soliciting tenants, as it normally would. That didn't work out too well. I'm just going by surmising it. Then they said, well, we're pet friendly. That didn't work out too good. So now they're offering $1,000 1 month free. That's affordability for you, and tells you something about the marketplace in Missoula. What do y'all think it means when it says 3 months? Still got an affordability problem? No. Here's another one, this one, I don't know if I can say this or not. The mayor's brochure. Her experience in responsible community development is just what we need. It's been about a year now since this flyer was put out. So we not need it anymore now. MRA, favorite subject. I like to have the representative on the board here, I mean on the city council, that here's the minutes of August 18, 2025. Total bond issuance infrastructure, 4 million.
Thank you for your comments this evening, Mr. Moore.
Is that all? God, I have one more thing I want to say, but y'all need to get on to it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda this evening?
Karen Giuliani, and I'm in Ward 1, and I have a couple of comments. One is that I noticed that my ward person is apparently resigned, and under some, I would think, kind of dubious circumstances, which I'm sure you'll be looking into.
Point of order. I don't think it's right to human character of our colleague who resigned. There's no dubious circumstances. People move and come and go, and I think we should refrain from attacks like that in comments.
Thank you. Noted. And we can answer that it's due to state law because of election.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue.
The other thing is that you answered that question and brought something, to my attention and answered me. I noticed that there was some people up here and they make comments and then you just thank them for their comment and there's no other discussion. So why is that? Can you answer that? Or is that just going to go in the comment record and I'm not going to be answered?
This is not a back and forth, but when we get to our section of comments, I can answer that for you.
You could. All right. And I'll probably be back and have more comments later, some other time.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda?
What's up, counselors? My name is James Crosby, formerly of Ward 3, just recently moved to Ward 1. I won't take it personally that counselors are leaving as I move in. I was excited for that, but in my 2 wards, there's something that I've noticed. Previously, I lived at the corner of California Street and Wyoming, on the 4th floor, right near that little roundabout. And I would hear this sound all the time. It goes something like this. You know what I'm talking about? Now I'm in Ward 1, then I hear it again. Madison Ave Bridge, Higgins. It's all over the city. I don't think it's just following me. I know that it's all around. So tonight I want to talk to you about speed, sound, and smog. And I want to frame this in a public health emergency standpoint. See, I get it that there's a thrill to that RPM. Every time I get in a rental car, I give it the test to see how fast I can go. I understand. I used to drive a Jeep Wrangler. I'm something of a motorhead myself, so I don't want to yuck somebody else's yum, but this is going to become a problem more than it already is. See, the places that people are out for this thrill-seeking mission are all throughout the city. It happens on Reserve, it happens on Broadway, It happens on Russell. It happens on California Street. It happens on Wyoming. And if they go flying through this traffic circle and catch the green light, they're going to keep going. And I listen as the motor roars, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hit. Usually the driver does not die. In a high-speed collision, it's the pedestrians that pay the price. I was traveling up South Avenue at night, and I got passed by two cars going almost 70 miles an hour. Two cars. They were side by side racing and moved into formation to go flying past me. I could have been hit twice downtown. The same white truck, and believe me, I made notes of which white truck it is, has coal rolled me on my bike and when I was running. Pulls up next to me, stomps on the accelerator, and it's more of a and then it belches this black smoke. It's a problem. That black smoke is smog. It stays in the valley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crosby, for your comments this evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Other members of the public wishing to make comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any in the room. Come on up.
Gwen Hoppy, Ward 3. And first of all, I'd like to ask that we move the public comment to the beginning. And maybe you'll have discussion on that sometime. The rest of what I'd like to talk about is to encourage you when it's time to deal with the Southgate Crossing, as the name is now for the Midtown, that you take your time and not be rushed. Because I could sort of see this, whatever is pre-made on it, coming through, and, it needs to quickly move, and I think there's a lot that needs to be considered. I was hoping that some of the lots would be not developed by the developer, so that other companies or citizens could do something creative and buy lots. I don't know how that's going to go. I asked about this a few months ago, I think it was at Missoula Economic Group. They didn't know if it was going to be sold to a developer or just developed and owned by the city and then later. So if it was still up in the air then, it's kind of like, okay, it's getting set, things are, solidifying. So I would like this to be a great opportunity to do something creative. I know some things are going to be established, but I'd like to have room for creative things to happen on this great opportunity, this land back there, so I can understand some of their proposals. But I'm thinking a little bit like the north side development, like the Bob Oaks kind of style, where some things you do creative things that make them affordable. And I know somewhere they were talking about, not everything can be affordable. We can't do everything with every development, but I would like you to take your time and really give the public a chance to weigh in on some of this and not just say, okay, do we approve it, sell, okay, all good. So thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Hobby. Thanks for coming down tonight. Anybody else for public comment on items not on the agenda?
Hi, everybody. My name's Mary Giuliani. I'm in Ward 3 as well. I have some questions about where you can run if you own multiple properties in different wards. So that's a question that I have just in general. I also have some questions about the Southgate Triangle development that's going in. In the Missoulian, it reported that you had met with a committee of realtors. I'm wondering if you met with any other realtors as you were, any other committees as you were developing this plan. Thanks.
Thanks for your comment this evening, Ms. Giuliani. All right, other members of the public, come on up.
Number 3 on Southgate Crossing, Carrie Schreiber from Ward 4 and from the Southgate Crossing neighborhood. When you all were buying this property, you assured us that you wanted to have control over it, and that's why the city needed to buy it and direct the development. And then I'm seeing headlines in newspapers saying no strings attached. And as I'm reading through these newspapers and talking to different news folks, hearing about this concept of a 1.5 acre pocket park nestled within an HOA that will be somewhat accessible to the public. And this is not what we were understanding from our previous conversations. And there's been a lot of previous conversations, many of you in small groups as well as in this larger group. That's not adequate for a neighborhood park. The Prost study showed that we already need a neighborhood park in that area. And when we talk about, here's the aspects of the Midtown Master Plan that this is embodying, we're not also hearing, here's the aspects of the Midtown Master Plan that are just being wiped away, like the open space that's depicted along the riparian areas. The Midtown Master Plan also talks about access to nature. It talks about preserving urban wildlife habitat. We have riparian area, and we just haven't gotten any clear information on adequate public park and the protection of nature in that area, and the climate resiliency. There's so many aspects of the plan that are not being spoken to. And so we already needed a park. We're adding in this new development. I see that Tollefson bought the lot north of there, and they tend to do high density apartments. And when we bring in high density, the need for space is even more important. And a football field and a half just isn't going to cut it for all of us. So I really am wanting to trust in this process, but my level of trust is really low at this point. Beginning with when I was told that it had all been privately owned and that the owners were just being kind, letting the public use it for decades, that they could have put a fence up around the whole thing, which is not accurate. There were public easements that we've been walking and using legitimately. There have been large encampments there because it was city property. It just isn't the transparency that I was hoping from in this process, or the consideration of the needs of the people that have been paying into this urban renewal district for a long, long time.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, good job, Carrie. Thank you. Other members of the public wishing to make comment this evening?
My name is Sarah Giuliani, and I would like to speak to the Southgate Triangle development as well. In the Missoulian article, I read that it was an Arizona-based developer that's going to be doing this development. So somebody from out of state, I think we should keep it local. And apparently we're selling the land for close to what we bought it for, which once we sell the land, it's gone. I also liked your comment about we need to be more creative. Like, there are people that need homes, not market rate homes. Market rate doesn't make sense when the market is off the charts right now. The developer spoke about having a grandmother that was a nurse. I am a nurse. I cannot afford a marketplace home in Missoula. So I think that we need to slow down on this development, engage the public more, engage people that live here, that are part of the community, the people who work at our gas stations, the people who teach our children, what they can afford, and get some creative solutions rather than just bringing in an out-of-state developer. Okay, that's all.
Thank you for your comments tonight, Sarah. Anybody else wishing to make public comment on items not on the agenda? Not seeing any in the room, I'll move online to see if there's anybody online that wishes to make public comment on items not on the agenda. All right. Not seeing any hands raised. Then we'll go ahead and wrap up public comment on items not on the agenda. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And so we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 11, which are communications from the mayor. And I'll go ahead and start by saying that this is actually a pretty unique ability for folks to make public comment and still be in the room. Because when public comment on items not on the agenda or at the beginning of the meeting, often people would leave. And if we had the chance to address questions or concerns, folks never heard those again. So just to be very clear about the city council meetings, and this was a query that you made. So city council meetings are business meetings of city council. They're not town halls. So our agenda by state law has to be posted in advance, and the agenda items have to be posted in advance. So public comment on items not on the agenda, general comments, are basically a place in which people can make general comments. And the back and forth is really actually not proper according to state law because those items are not notified. So we can make comments at the end in general comments. It sort of gives people a general sense. And then as noted, and as you didn't see tonight because we didn't have public hearings, we didn't have regular business, but we did have our consent agenda. Every item on our city council agenda allows for public comment on those agenda items. So that's important to note that you don't have just one opportunity to comment once in the evening, but you actually have the opportunity to comment throughout the publicly notified agenda for items of interest to you. So it is I feel like it's been a real common misunderstanding, especially as this conversation has been talked about in the community recently in regards to the intent. The council meeting agenda was modified about a year ago in order for folks that were wanting to make public comment on items that were notified on the agenda, but were waiting for an unstipulated amount of time because public comment on items not on the agenda didn't actually have a time frame. So one of the things that we had talked about in terms of the mayor's office and council leadership were, do we take a look at how this meeting is organized? And since then, we have had quite a bit of public respond to that favorably. In addition to the media, which the TV media are not here tonight, but I've had folks from the TV stations say how much easier it is for them to come and cover city council now because they go back and do their broadcasting, and they wouldn't be able to cover city council meetings because of the unknown amount of time often given to public comment on items not on the agenda. Again, there was no prescribed time there. So any of these things are certainly worth looking at, and the agenda, of course, could be examined again, but that's the reason for that change. Again, this is a business meeting of city council, not a town hall, so that's why it's not a back and forth like that. The other thing that I'll mention just briefly, and certainly as an informational item, is to mention that it's worth taking a look at the Midtown Master Plan and recognizing that the plans and desires for that area of town were not a prescriptive plan set. It was a vision for that area. So while it identified the Southgate Crossing as a potential area for a transfer center for Mountain Line's bus system, it wasn't an edict or a mandate. And certainly the city and the developer, and we're all in communications around how it is that we can still facilitate a transfer center in that area of town. We are undertaking a very robust project together called Transform Brooks. So I hope you'll take a look at that online. It's a very robust planning process in which we are planning for the eventuality of how we make the Brooks area corridor more walkable and opportunities to create more affordable homes, both for rent and for ownership, and then also neighborhood commercial. We're also looking at how we can get transit better oriented on Brook Street rather than just in the neighborhoods to be able to support that land use plan. The other thing I'll mention, and sounds like there was still a question out there about the Missoula Long Range Transportation Plan. This has been also a robust public process, and that information is available for everybody to see on the Engage Missoula site. You can look that up on Missoula Long Range Transportation Plan Update. There is extensive information around what that update entails. There's also direct contacts for the staff members with the Missoula Planning Organization. So if you still have questions in regards to that, those folks are available for you there to answer any questions that you might have. And lastly, I would direct you to the website that is the mayor's City Lands Task Force, in which it addresses a number of questions. Also gives you an idea of all of the people that were involved in the task force. There was one representative of a realtor organization and a singular realtor, but not everybody were realtors. In fact, we had members from the nonprofit development community, the for-profit development community, contractors, people that are in finance, others that can help us think through how do we activate the lands that are currently in our ownership for redevelopment, not for municipal use, but for redevelopment. And how can we actually get more homes built and more commercial, more neighborhood commercial that we keep hearing, and neighborhood parks. Because as I mentioned, the Southgate Crossing property was slated to have buses parked on it. And we were really lucky to have the Beach family willing to sell us that property along with the other parcel owners there to be able to create the opportunities that the Miramont companies will be carrying forward. And the fact that we'll now have a public park in that area is unique to the city buying that property. So that was really what we spoke to. The city never intended to have full control of that property, but we did intend to control the opportunities to catalyze the Midtown Master Plan. And that's what we're going to see in the work that we are undertaking with the Miramont companies. So lots of good things underway there, including a public process for working on the park design and the concept there, as well as other public amenities and the connections throughout that entire parcel. That will be coming up in the fall, and that's in October that the Parks and Rec Department will be undertaking that public process. Easily available information on our website, but we'll make sure we push that out on our Engage Missoula page, I am assuming, on that park design as well. Okay, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up there, other than saying I just want to make a big shout out to everybody that participated in Sunday Streets, our local city staff and departments in terms of our public works and our mobility staff members, as well as the Missoula in Motion organized another excellent community event. And if you didn't have a chance to go this year, I hope you'll take advantage of it next year. We've been moving it around to different neighborhoods all over our community, and this time it was in the north side. And it was just a great time to get out and be active and get to meet different folks all around Missoula, listen to music, eat ice cream, all sorts of good stuff. So it was a lot of fun. All right. So that will wrap it up for me, and I'll go ahead and I'll start council general comments with Councilor Jordan.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and providing public comment tonight. I know it's hard to not have the back and forth, and I wish we could. And I know a few of us are really interested in bringing public comment back to the beginning of meetings. But thank you for coming tonight and spending your evening with us. And if you have any further questions, feel free to email anyone or me, Kristen, Jordan, and I'll answer.
Thanks, Councilor Jordan. Councilor Nelson.
I'll pass tonight. Thanks.
You bet. And Councilor Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks. A couple things. First, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a primary tomorrow. We have 3 wards, as well as the mayor's race. So it's Ward 3, Ward 5, and Ward 6, I believe. So please drop off your ballots tomorrow if you have not voted yet. I also want to address one of the public comments, and I want to say thank you to the mayor for so articulately covering so many pieces of what was brought up in public comment. And that is the reason that we have them close together, or one of the reasons, which is great. There was nothing dubious about the vacation of the seat in Ward 1. She simply moved with her family to Ward 3. So she vacated that seat and is running for election in the ward that she's currently living in, which is required by state law. I apologize if I wasn't clear about the reasons for that, but her family has moved and she is officially living in that house. And so at that point, she notified me that she needed to vacate the seat, and we will again know a little more about how we're going to handle that with such a short period of time soon.
Thank you, President Cheryl. And Councilor Becerra.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one more piece of information to a question that was brought up regarding
being the owner of different properties throughout the city, and running for city council and what that entails. And you can own properties throughout the community, but it's where you reside, your permanent residence, that dictates what ward you can represent if you choose to run for city council. So I don't own other properties, but if I did own a business or another house throughout the city, my permanent residence is in Ward 2, and that's the ward that I represent in the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Becerra. And Councilor Nugent.
Thanks, Mayor Davis. First of all, I appreciate you thoroughly kind of addressing a lot of people's questions. I think that's helpful, and you've provided lots of good information. I want to add a couple things. I think it's important to have a very thorough and public conversation about Southgate Crossing, but I also think it's important to have factual information, and repeating non-factual information does not help public discourse. I've said many times on the public record, I'll say it right now, the parcels that we're talking about were owned by two different entities. One of them was getting ready to sell. The other one was kind of on the fence. If that property had sold, as the mayor referenced, there would have been bus storage there. The city, through the MRA, took the opportunity to say, we think that this can be a planned neighborhood and be better. And that is how this process started. There were no park easements. The easements that keep getting referenced were platted roads. So they would have, if the properties had been developed, they could have turned into basically paved roads and sidewalks. So yes, there's some access, but it was not a park. You cannot move those around. So it's somewhat misleading to say that there were several acres of a park that were accessible. When we talk about infill in the community, we have trade-offs, and there are things we need to accomplish, and we want to accomplish a lot of them all at once. We want to accomplish parks, we want to accomplish housing. We've been told over and over again that creating density or ADUs or things like that actually help us achieve some of our housing goals. I've heard several times that this developer is from Arizona, and I would just state that just because the Missoulian writes it doesn't mean that it's accurate. This developer has built houses in Missoula, and I believe lives here. That is what he told us when I met with him. So I just think it's important that we don't label people in different ways. Now, he may have come from somewhere else. People move to Missoula all the time, but I think it's important that things are reported accurately, because otherwise, misinformation abounds. I'm excited to see where this goes. From the announcement that the mayor and the city administration put out, it seems like they worked with the MEP to kind of say, here are goals the city has. That includes a park, that includes some trail space, that includes housing, and they tasked groups to come up with ideas that they came back with. From what I have seen, that includes potential homeownership opportunities with ADUs, and I think that's a need that's there. There's also more dense housing and a trail connection. There will be a public process. There will be an opportunity to weigh in on the park space. Those are all things that we've talked about. Not everybody's going to get everything they want. In fact, I would imagine nobody will get everything they want, but that's what happens when a city is trying to accommodate many goals on one parcel. And finally, I would just say that, your city lands task force, I think, was very well thought out, and I appreciated being able to hear perspectives from lots of people. I think it's important for some of the public commenters to know that some of the people who were in the room were affordable housing developers. One of them was the chair of NeighborWorks Montana, which is one of the largest funders of affordable housing in Montana. So they were part of that conversation as well. And I would be remiss not to point out that our own Mayor Davis is one of the most knowledgeable affordable housing advocates in the state right now. And she no longer is in that arena because she is the mayor, but that doesn't mean that that expertise goes away. So I think that is absolutely at the forefront of our conversations, and I appreciate all you do on that front. And with that, I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Nugent. Really appreciate that. And Councilor Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess to build on a little bit of what my colleague just said, let's not lose sight of the fact that we're into Southgate Triangle at this point for north of $5 million worth of tax increment financing dollars. Those are tax dollars, and once again, the city is choosing to get into the real estate business on behalf of the citizens of Missoula. To what end? We'll see. We talk about the Midtown Master Plan being performative, not performative, or, this is evidently there's the catalyzation that's, been mentioned earlier tonight. But, there's been some conversation too about, strings attached, we're going to attach strings with city property, we're not going to attach strings. But let's just be clear, whenever a city owns property, whatever development comes forward, be it Southgate Triangle, be it, Scott Street, or, what have you in the future, if there's going to be buy-sell, there's going to be development agreements, those are the strings. And, there are going to be definitely, stipulations put out there that developers have to abide by. And, to what extent there should be, that still has to be worked out. But, we need to be clear that, once again, the city's, making investment of TIF dollars that, by virtue of budget we just enacted are, in short supply. So as we move forward, as we decide to invest in, perhaps infrastructure improvements with Southgate Triangle or, other areas, that's going to include more TIF dollars. Maybe we'll have those dollars available. Maybe we won't. So maybe we'll end up having to bond. But, those are things that are going to be contemplated. So, it just, it goes back to what I've said in the past about the city getting into the real estate business. And, I think to a certain extent, we do so at our own peril. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. And Councillor Jones.
I'll pass tonight, thank you.
Okay, you bet. And how about council members online? Councillor Carlino?
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming to comment today. I just think, when we're selling off our publicly owned city lands, that we need to make sure that we're maximizing the public benefit in those situations. So I look forward to the discussions on all of those. And that's all I've got for tonight. Thanks.
You bet. Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Vasika, see your camera's on.
Yes, I was going to say a lot tonight, but I have a sick baby. Well, that's actually really happy right now. That I just wanted to say there was something disturbing in the news the other day about having your child's photos on Facebook or any other social media. And I know that bath pictures and swimsuit pictures are adorable for family and grandparents, but please use your discretion when using those, because there are bad people out there that will use them for nefarious reasons. So just please be aware about what you're posting on the internet. Thanks.
Thank you for that message. Appreciate that. And thank you, Councillor Vasika. Councillor Anderson, did you have any councillor comments this evening? Okay, I'm not seeing your hand raised. Okay. I think you're good there. Okay. All right. Then that does wrap up our general comments on from City Council members. And with that, our agenda is concluded, and I'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 7:10 p.m. Thanks for coming down tonight.